For day 1, a lot of us will scramble like a hoedown to get to level 50 and some with little time left. We'll rush into the first or second Guardian raid, which is Urunil, not to be confused with Urunil and Lumerus, and I'm here to make your first step into the Guardian raiding experience a little bit easier, if not just power bombing them sideways into the nether realm. Even though I accidentally killed these bosses while making this video with my overpowered meat lord, I do it for science, and I also make this video for the newer players who have never played Lost Ark before. As it'll be your first raid boss, I want to assure you that you'll get the hang of it, and to not be discouraged if you don't do so well on your first few tries. If you ace it on your first try, give your chat self a pat on the back. Regardless, I hope that this video can help you guys to clear it on your first try. So before venturing into the shady wilderness, we want to bring some useful items such as the flare, which reveals where the Guardian is located on the map. Another useful item to bring is pheromone bombs, because as the boss is running away to another location, if you throw a pheromone bomb at it, it'll respawn in the same place, which makes killing the boss a hell of a lot faster due to not spawning in a new location on the map, which requires running and climbing, which can sometimes take up a decent amount of time. Let's get a little bit into raiding etiquette. This is the unspoken rule. When raiding, you're assigned a party number 1 through 4. The flare is always thrown by number 1 of the party, and in order, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th person will throw the next flare or pheromone bomb to keep the boss there or track it down again once it runs. Now, you don't have to follow this rule, but it's quite effective in saving time for everyone, as we're all on the grind and want to maximize efficiency and cut down time as much as possible. It's followed very strictly in Korea, where efficiency is pretty smooth, somewhat on Japan, and very loosely in Russia. I'm interested to see how NA does with this unspoken rule. Anyways, let's get into the schmeat of this soup. We got Urunil, a boss that looks like if Kung Fu Panda joined the dark side and ate a bunch of rage-inducing magical mushrooms. This guy's body looks cuddly enough, but his face screams, "Don't touch me. I'm angry." I call Urunil and Lumerus the butthug, not to be confused with buttplug bros, because I think that's a completely different genre. Anyways, they're the butthug bros, because as long as you stay behind them, you'll be safe from most of their attacks. But there are a few special ones to look out for, which we'll get to in a second. Let's go over its skill set one by one. First, we got Lunge. He's got a generic lunge. The tell for this is when he cocks back and takes a step backwards, then lunges. This is dodged easily enough to the side, but keep a heads up because oftentimes he'll turn around and lunge again for the lulz. Next is the double swipe. Urunil has a generic double swipe, which he completely telegraphs like an angry drunk at a bar mustering his strongest swing that the alcohol-induced courage gave him. It's easy enough to see coming, and dodging away to the side or staying hugging his butt is the way here. Next we have Flapjack. This has the more subtle tell, and oftentimes it's hard to see. Just know that if it looks like he's standing very still, he's about to do a flapjack. This attack lunges at you and then flips you into the air. It's super humiliating to get flapjack because you get tossed and flipped around like a shrimp tail at Benihana. Next is his flurry skill. He'll start with what looks like a double swipe, but keep swiping like a Tinder addict and then go into a slam that causes an AoE. If you get clipped with the first hit, make sure to spacebar out, because if you get caught in the flurry, you're most likely going to get hit by the explosive AoE at the end, which can hurt. Once again, staying in the spot where you can see his fat bare booty is the best course of action. After a while and certain damage done to him, he gets enraged and unleashes his Bankai. He'll have a new moveset and some variations of the previous moveset. You can tell he's enraging when he glows red, and after that you'll see that the horns on his shoulders have swirly fire around them, and he gets glowing markings on his fur. After this he gets the Rage Lunge. The lunge is the same as before, but it leaves a trail of explosions in the direction it lunges. Stay to its side or once again its furry butt to avoid all damage. Next we got the Ball Toss. Urunil charges up a ball a bit ways in front of him and tosses the ball up into the air behind him. This is the only time you shouldn't be tickling his taint. Make sure to dodge out of there ASAP because it hurts quite a bit. Stay to his side during this move as it's the safest area, since both back and front are danger zones. And finally, the most damaging move that can one-shot you at the current eye level is AoE Quake. He explodes in a giant AoE ring around him where it's only safe in the middle or way outside. Make sure to dodge in or out depending on how close or far you are from him. This is the most painful move he does, but he does give a big tell when he puts both arms in the air and slams the ground. At this moment, it's time to choose to dodge either in or out. Also keep in mind that when any boss glows blue, it's a counter mechanic. Whenever Urunil glows blue before his attack, you can counter attack him with a skill that has the counter attribute and make him take a knee for some sweet free damage. Next, let's get into Lumerus. This is like a magical outdoor cat that stopped getting fed by random strangers leaving milk outside, so instead it decided to learn Kung Fu and start eating people instead. The first skill we need to look out for from this magical cat is Swipe. Lumerus also has a super telegraphed clumsy swing, but it's only one. It's easy enough to dodge in any direction, but the safest place is, you guessed it, on its bushy rear. Next is Charge. Lumerus lowers his head and quickly swipes the ground with his front foot and charges. Usually when he does this, he glows blue to be counterable, but sometimes he doesn't, so look out for the tail. The next move he does is Blow. When Lumerus glows white, he's either gonna do a jump attack or blow in a cone shape. When he glows, it's a good rule of thumb to dodge to the side and start positioning yourself behind him. For this boss, it pays to always stay behind him for reasons shown later in this video. The next move is Jump. When Lumerus glows white and jumps, it'll jump forward and land to release a cone-shaped AoE. As long as you're to the side, his forward jump will position you easily behind him. Once again, position yourself behind him as soon as possible for maximum safety. Next, this is 2-piece and an AoE. Lumerus has a 1-2 combo into a 180-degree AoE in front of him. When you see him doing his 1-2 combo where small circular room markings appear in front of him while trying to slap you, immediately run or dodge to behind him or to his side because the huge AoE is coming. When he's low on health, geysers spawn during this skill, so be wary of those while positioning yourself to his side or back. Next is Geysers. This is probably the dodgiest skill because with bad RNG you can get bounced around and juggled to death. Once again, when Lumerus is about to do his most dangerous skill, he puts his hands up and slams the ground, just like Urunil. When he slams the ground, geysers will spawn randomly on the map. Make sure not to get hit because it can push you into another one until you bounce around like a ragdoll, until you're a ragdoll with 0 HP. Once you know you're in a safe area where there are no geysers, think of it as free DPS and hit the boss hard while he's still casting his silly spell. The next is 320-degree AoE. When Lumerus puts his head down, he's about to unleash his huge AoE that spans 320 degrees around him. The only safe spot is facing his butt like going up on an escalator, but don't stare because it's rude. Overall, because of this move, it's the safest to always be behind Lumerus when you can. Good rule of thumb is if Lumerus has his back to the wall and you can't get behind him, pull him out to the center so you have room to hide from the AoE later. Next is the Charging 320 AoE. This charge 320 makes Lumerus hop without glowing. He'll then put his head down and start charging up while channeling the rage of not being fed milk by strangers anymore. Why did they stop? Did they go on vacation? After his commiseration, he'll unleash a bigger, stronger 320-degree AoE in which you'll want to be tickling his taint once again. For these mechanics, the earlier you can get into position, the more free damage you can do. One thing to look out for is the back twirl. Lumerus does some high-octane dodging once in a while, and he twirls backwards, and more often than not will combo this with a disrespectful charge or a jump, so beware. And that about concludes it. Best of luck on day 1 raiding, and see you next time.